Boom. Hey, so we modified the intro a bit there.
That's good.
Just a
10
smidge.
minutes ago
Just a
in the
smidge.
hallway.
Yeah.
But hey, everybody, welcome back to HoloNet Marauders Live. How's everybody doing? We got an amazing episode to talk about eventually
It's a
here.
great-
But
oh my
first, I want to bring in our special guest, one of our favorite people involved in the Star Wars world, galaxy here, author Landry Q. Walker.
Yay, thank
How's
you,
it going, Landry? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And for anyone that doesn't know Landry, he is essentially the lore master behind Sedona Thano,
I would say
the
so.
creator.
The keeper of
thank the
Sedona.
maker.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, he wrote one of our favorite short stories, obviously about Sedona Thano, and
Crimson Corsair and the Lost Treasure of Count Dooku.
yeah, if you guys haven't read that, it involves
Do it.
clone trooper Kix and the crew of Sedona Thano, and it's amazing. So
Yep.
We talk a lot about it a lot on the show. But,
We do.
Anyway, but
But
we're not talking about that today. We're talking
No,
about
no.
Boba Fett. So this is just casual Boba chat, which
Boba Chat.
that's what I know.
yeah, I
Boba
remember
chat.
the last time we spoke with you, Landry. You had such a good take about Jabba and his crew and being pirates and whatnot. So I
Right.
figured you'd be perfect to bring in for this.
I have
Post
no
return.
recollection. What did I say?
Well, I think
I'm glad it was good.
one of the things, and Matt and I talk about it, is how Luke literally walked the plank.
right.
And we were just like, oh, that's so obvious. We didn't.
It's so obvious, but like I don't know why I never connected the dots there. Like I never connected that as like a piratey kind of swashbuckling scene. But
It
now
took
it's
me
like all I
years.
think about.
It took me years to notice it. And so I'm like, oh, they're all pirates. I always thought
Yeah.
somehow I got it in my head, gangsters. But there's really nothing very gangstery about them in that. It's a pirate den. And
Yeah.
the plank and all that. Yeah, piratey.
But now Boba's in there, and it's very gangster-like now. I would say it's very Godfather Mafia feel of the show. But
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
first and foremost, I wanted to get your thoughts. How have you been enjoying the show so far? What are your thoughts before this previous episode? What have you been thinking?
Well, it's always, there's kind of two brains when you're looking at this and you work in the Star Wars universe at all. On one hand, I'm enjoying it immensely. On the other hand, I'm sitting there watching it and re-editing it in my head and going, well, they could put this scene here and that scene there and do all this, which is really just a part of the brain sometimes you want to turn off.
Yeah.
I'm having fun with it. As with anything, there's things I could look at and go, well, I could be critical in this way, and maybe I will be, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions I wrote down that I thought of today for you was, you're obviously much more of a storyteller than any of us on a professional level, and the show has been weird. It's kind of been all over the place with the flashbacks and everything. I hate to call it messy because I've enjoyed it so much, but then the past two episodes have been basically Mandalorian. So, and it seems like you kind of feel that way, that maybe it's a little odd of a storytelling for a show about Boba Fett.
It's an interesting approach to the structure of it because, just for an example, how many episodes do we have left? Do we know? One. Right. There's one episode left.
One.
So we spent, what is that, 20% of our story not on Boba Fett. And I feel like we're just getting started. They could have started 2 episodes ago with the Mandalorian introduced with Boba Fett as a background character in his own show. It could work, and then build up, and then the beginning of next episode, we go 5 years early or whatever, 10 years, however long it's been, and it's Boba escaping the Sarlacc pit. And we build up, we know what's coming, we front load it in these first 2 episodes, and then tell us all this backstory, so we have all this climax we're working towards. Instead, they placed all of this at the penultimate chapters when you want your arc to just be building. And instead, we've got the Mandalorian's taking a nap. I mean, he doesn't want to take the nap, admittedly, but there he is taking a nap. It's like, okay. I'm loving the individual scenes. I'm loving the individual episodes when viewed in isolation. But as a whole, there's a disjointed quality that I don't think is insurmountable. I don't think it's a show breaker, but it does leave you scratching your head occasionally at the flow of the narrative.
Right. And as like we're all mega fans of Star Wars, obviously, because we're doing this, but we scratch our heads, but then we're like, oh my god, this is some of the best stuff I've ever seen in Star Wars.
It's
So,
like the
We're all
weirdest
watching it.
yeah,
dissonance imaginable, where it's like I can't stop thinking about yesterday's episode and how much I loved it and everything that we got. It's like, wow, Luke training Grogu. That's like something I never thought we'd get, or didn't think we'd get until years, and we got it, and I'm so excited. But it's in the book of Boba Fett. Whenever I think about this episode, I just cannot think of it in the context of the book of Boba Fett. It just feels just like a totally different show, and it's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest feeling.
yeah. Like since the Tusken Raider arc, and sorry, Jack, I'll let you go in a second. But
sorry, Din
since
Djarin.
since we have Din here, he's focusing on the flight to Luke's temple. But the Tusken arc feels so long ago, and it does feel like a different show. It's just
It
wild.
does.
But
It's the weirdest thing.
yeah, Din Djarin, go ahead. What do you got?
I couldn't feel more conflicted watching these last two episodes. On the one hand, this is all stuff I desperately want to know and I'm excited to see in front of me. But at the same time, I couldn't agree more with everything Landry said. It's just, I'm like, what about Boba? Come on, we're supposed to talk about Boba. You only got an episode left. What are we supposed to do? And,
That's the thing. If we had like
trust
2
them.
episodes left, that'd be
Yeah.
one thing. But like 1 episode left, it's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
I remember we sat here last week and we were like, well, originally we heard it might be 6 episodes, so maybe they just threw this Mando one in. But then it turned into a 2-episode thing with Luke and Ahsoka and Cobb Vanth now. But Cobb Vanth sort of makes sense with the Boba story more.
And then
So
Cad
we'll get to
Bane
that.
shows up. And
Cad Bane shows up.
Oh.
Gosh, there's so much to talk
My
about.
goodness.
what
But
happened?
guys, the most important character to show up of all time is Cobb Vanth. We've been talking about this since the first episode of the HoloNet Marauders podcast is actually named A Camtono About Cobb.
It's true.
Cobb
Yeah.
Vanth is half of our origin story, okay? And we've been talking about him, like, hoping that he was gonna, like, re-show up because he's literally on the same planet this entire time, and he did.
Right off the bat,
just-
too.
I whooped and hollered.
Oh,
like-
God.
I know.
I
Off the bat, Jamie, you recognized the pants right away, and I was
did.
like in La La Land.
Immediately, like you could hit. It was him, just like the corner of his like back pocket, and I'm like, that is Cobb Vanth's ass. I know that for a fact.
I know that
Like-
act
like,
Curse of
I-
the costumer.
Like immediately knew it. Like I've been staring at like reference photos for the past like year and a half, and like immediately I just knew. And the costume is pretty much exactly the same. By the way, I gotta throw that out there. The boots are a little different, and he has a scar. But
I was going to say the makeup is different. He's got a scar now, and he looks a little
Guys.
grungier. I don't know where they
Anyway.
got that scar.
gnarly.
Can't
He
really
looks a
see
little
it in
Pierce
this picture.
Brosnan here.
He
I
does.
honestly think
Yeah.
I named
He
that
does.
photo "Return of the King." Like I'm not
Oh,
even kidding.
really?
It's exciting to see him kind of own his role without the armor, because
Yeah.
I felt like that was like one of his defining features. And I even said last week, I was like, oh, I don't know, without the armor, is he really that helpful in a fight?
He's a
Boy,
crack
was I
shot.
wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you thought.
And speaking of costumes, he pointed out the stripes he's wearing.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that was great.
Yeah,
Which
he
was
immediately
great.
points out these stripes mean I'm a marshal, and that was something that I immediately picked up because like Cara Dune has that in her belt buckle, and then so does Cobb, and it's cool to actually see them continue to and calling it out.
Yeah.
I'm
I just
really
love Cobb
hoping-
so much.
I'm really hoping Carson Teva, is he a ranger technically?
I don't know
I
what
guess.
he
Whatever-
would be.
whatever
He's
he
a
is. I hope-
pilot.
I hope he kind of hears about this next battle that's going to eventually happen in this next episode, we think. And he comes to Tatooine and, he's already right there anyways, right?
Yeah, right.
And he maybe talks to Cobb Vanth the same way he talked to Cara Dune in Mando Season 2. And it's like, hey, would you want to join a higher thing with the New Republic? And maybe that... We know Rangers of the New Republic is kind of not happening anymore eventually,
Probably
but maybe
not.
it will in some way, shape, or form.
I think
don't know.
the official statement, the most recent official statement was that while the show might not be happening, the ideas in the show will probably be happening in other
Yeah,
capacities, in other material.
very true. Shall we
Guys,
talk
you know-
about Luke Skywalker?
But I guess let's talk about the main character of the entire saga.
Skywalker.
I guess.
Ooh.
I guess
See
so.
where all the budget went.
Yes.
Also, I gotta show this
Oh my
one
God.
off again. 'cause
Yes.
Cobb's back.
Earned.
Wait, hey, why didn't they have Spotchka? I feel like that wasn't addressed. Why
He
did
didn't
they
have
not
Spotchka.
There was
It was
no
like new
Spotchka.
Spotchka.
Bartender
It was like-
was out.
was
It was like this
Mountain Dew
weird,
Livewire.
like
Brown.
regular looking alcohol. Gross.
Yeah.
We want our blue glowing drinks.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about Luke.
Did he change his hair? Did Luke change his hair?
It looks like
Did his
Luke
hair look
changed his
different?
hair.
It's like he
It looks
parted
a
it
little-
the other way.
Yeah,
just
it
to
kind of
mess him up.
it felt a little Anakin Skywalker vibe there. Am
Yeah.
I just? Do you see that? Is it just
He
me?
looks tired.
I
He
never,
does.
I didn't think of that, but now that you pointed out, I see it.
You can kind
Yeah,
of
it's
see it
just
like
a-
here a little bit. This
A little
looks
bit.
so
Just like our
much-
friend Scott.
This looks so much like Scott. Like
Right.
I like can't get it out of my head. Like I immediately when like that shot happened, Landry, you don't know him, but the rest of us know Scott, and he cosplays Luke, and he's might be in the chat. I'm not sure, but literally the moment this happened, I'm like, this is literally Scott, like the silhouette and everything, and I was messaging him immediately. I'm like, did you watch it yet? And then once he said that he did, I just sent him that exact screen cap, and I'm like, is this you?
Yeah.
And he's
So
like,
I think they probably
"No."
used his face as a reference, right? I mean,
yeah.
that's probably
Yeah,
what
definitely,
happened.
right?
But really,
What did we-
he
what did
looks.
we- I was gonna say, what did we think? How did he look? I thought he
oh my
looked
God,
tremendous.
He looks awesome. I was
look at
not.
He sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did sound good.
I mean, they had Mark Hamill. They did the same kind of like voice modulation thing. I think they did with him in Mando season 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, this looked leaps and bounds better than the end of Mando season 2. I'll always love that
Seriously.
reveal, but this looked as close to natural as I think we're gonna get anytime soon. And it was damn near natural. I mean,
Yeah.
He looks good.
yeah,
He looks good.
It looks as good as it can get, I think. But Jamie, you did have a good
Yeah.
point on the acting aspect of this and the whole actor
Yeah.
behind that.
Yeah, so I'm
science,
assuming
technology.
I'm assuming that they used the same actor from season 2, Max Lloyd Jones. Although I'm not.
No.
They used someone else.
Really?
Oh, it was someone else. Okay.
Yeah, he was cast as a pilot.
I know he was the
Yeah.
pilot last
Yeah.
week, but I thought they would have
Let
used
me-
him again. Interesting.
let me look it
Well,
up.
Regardless, while Matt's getting the name of the actor who did the body work, I think that
Right.
with everything with the deepfakes, it makes me nervous because it feels like at this point we're gonna hit a point in technology in which we don't need actors, and that just is kind of terrifying.
This is
Um,
terrifying. By the way,
I mean it.
yeah,
Like
it was a weird
seriously.
moment.
his name is Graham Hamilton. Anybody
Okay.
wanted to know?
Yeah.
And he looks a lot like Luke already. Like if you look at like
That
a
probably
comparison
helps.
side by side, yeah,
Yeah.
he looks very much like Mark Hamill. It's impressive.
So if they were to do like a Luke show eventually, would you guys? I would hope they wouldn't use that technology for the whole show for
I mean,
the reasons Jamie said.
Think
But-
about how much.
Genie's out of the bottle.
I mean, how much? But
Yeah,
how
put
much
back
work that
in
was.
the bottle. Okay.
You
Like-
can't make
It's open.
you can't make him the main character when you're gonna have to find a body double, make sure that his face is CG the entire time, find Mark Hamill, get the voice modulation right.
Yeah.
It's if
a
you
lot of
noticed
work.
yesterday, a lot of Mark Hamill's lines were delivered without seeing Luke's face. There were so many lines that were spoken.
Like this again.
Very
Yeah.
anime style.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that was obviously because they didn't want to have to dedicate so much time to CGing every little line that he did.
I think ultimately, I don't really have a problem with recasting. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, it worked for Han, I thought.
I liked it.
Yeah.
We all loved Alden.
Yeah.
Alden
I actually,
Ehrenreich.
when I first saw the photos, I have to admit, I was a person who reacted very badly. Of course, I was still going to see it, but I'm like, no, why are they doing this? No. And I went and saw, just before seeing it, I realized, wait a minute, I'm going in with a bias, or I'm angry, or I'm judging this guy for literally not being Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He cannot help that he is not Harrison Ford. That is not his fault.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't matter to me, and I just enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it a lot more once I let that go, So I do think, as others have said, there recasting isn't a terrible thing if it's done well. Sebastian
Right.
Stan.
I
Sebastian
agree.
Stan has been the name that's
Sebastian
been
Stan,
thrown
that's
around
it.
the
Sebastian
most.
Stan.
I think Sebastian Stan's too big of a name, honestly.
I
At
mean,
this
it-
point.
I suppose.
I mean, Luke is a big character.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Bring it
Rosario
in.
Dawson's a big name too.
Yeah.
Luke is a bigger
Yeah.
character than the Winter Soldier ever was.
This
No
is true.
shade at Ed Brubaker, but
Yeah.
They both have robot hands.
I mean, the Winter
there
Soldier
you
wouldn't
go.
have been as big of a thing if it wasn't for the MCU anyway, though. So
True.
Anyway,
Who knows?
forever.
I mean, I would be down
Well,
for it.
I think it's interesting when you look at how other actors will then portray a younger version of a character that's played by another actor so iconically, like Tommy Lee Jones as Kay in Men in Black, and the third one, Josh
Oh,
Brolin
right.
takes on the role.
That
My
was
He does
great.
such
Yeah.
he does such an
It's perfect.
unbelievable job. It's
Yeah.
that's like one of the best casting choices I've ever seen.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that.
Oh,
Men in
it's
Black
worth
3?
it.
Really?
The
I didn't
movie
see
has
it.
some flaws.
It's
but,
really fun.
Josh Brolin's performance is worth it alone.
Josh
Yeah.
How
Brolin,
well he
yeah,
does it.
Seriously.
he's
Yeah.
absolutely right. Jack
Men in
is
Black
right.
3 is wicked worth it. Like
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Wicked worth it.
Yeah,
Jill,
I love
Much
it anyway.
better
Jill's
than
always.
two.
What?
Jillian,
No.
Jill.
How did we
there
get
is
this?
no
Jill.
chance in hell
What
that
are
This episode
Grogu-
has shown
Could
us
you-
everything.
No.
Could you not?
So, do we want to just jump right to the
Why?
her last scene?
Why?
Because I think Jill forced our hand.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because, I've been thinking a lot about this.
Everybody.
You know,
the
we
last
have,
scene.
Yeah, the
This?
lone wolf and the cub scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Choose
is
the ball
just
or the
Filoni
sword.
just thumbing his nose at everyone ever criticized him for using that trope. It's
Mm.
like, here it is. The
It
exact
literally
scene.
spelled out exactly though.
And I think he's going to choose the Beskar because
Sam.
Din has the car seat. He made him a little shirt, and the fans want it.
The shirt.
And
And-
also,
Shirts.
we know we don't see Grogu later on with the sequel stuff. We don't see him,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know how that would work out, but it would make more sense if he goes with Mando and deals with that stuff on that story and that side of the galaxy. To me.
This was a weird thing for me, and just that I as much as I enjoyed it, but I felt like we just saw Grogu make this choice.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of
Yeah.
Mandalorian, like
Yes.
we
Ahsoka
just saw
literally
him do this.
says. Ahsoka literally says in this
Yeah, that's
episode
what
he
surprised
chose
me.
to do this, and so
but
it,
is she referring to Luke or Grogu? Because there seems to be a conflicting thing online for who she's referring to, who made the choice.
That's a very good
Because
question.
she just says he made the
Um,
choice,
I don't know.
and I think she's referring to Luke, not.
I thought she was
Grogu.
referring to Luke when she said that. I thought that
Because it also would conflict with the thing with the Rise of Skywalker. Leia's supposed to be his first student, not Grogu.
I know.
So
Yeah,
it would
every-
also make sense that if he's been trained up in this episode to be resourceful, to use the Force enough to survive a little better, and hopefully hold his own a little more in dangerous situations with Din. And I think he's basically being set up to then use what he has to then go back, which I don't like. I kind of want him to stay in the academy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed he's being set up this way, but I can see Luke's hesitation, and I think it plays well into The Last Jedi as well.
Well, Luke says that the first student, Grogu would be the first student of the school, not necessarily his first student, though, right?
Right.
I believe
Sure.
so.
Nuance. I like
There
it.
you
Okay.
go.
Yeah, that's
Now we're
certainly
listening.
possible.
There we go.
Yeah, and Ahsoka really says that, right? She's the one who says he will be
Yeah.
this school's first student.
Yeah.
I
Um,
gotta
yeah.
That's true.
fun picture of the school.
That
And
was so
you know,
cool,
in the
Ahsoka
Rise
just-
of Kylo Ren
this?
comics,
I
I
love
love
the
that.
robot ants.
The,
Yes.
the robot ants building the temple.
Hank
Well,
Pym
which
would be proud.
I will say this right now. I think that's the same temple. I think it's the same temple. I know a lot of people are like going
Oh, yeah.
crazy about like, is this the same temple? Is it a different temple? Is this the same planet?
Same
I
temple.
think it's the same
Okay,
temple.
hey guys.
Well, I think
here's
I think it's the same temple, but
Last
it's
Jedi.
like,
So here's the temple in the Last Jedi.
We're missing
Yeah.
some mountains.
yeah,
Yes.
I don't see the. But I mean,
It could be
But
super foggy.
Here we
Super
go
foggy
for-
and dark.
Very foggy day.
I
It
think it
also
always
could
just
be
change what it
from a
looks
different
like.
angle. And yeah, I mean,
Like, look at
all of that
Tython.
does
We see
that.
Tython and
Weird if Luke
Oh.
opens a second school somewhere in between this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's branching out. He's franchising.
Franchise, yeah.
franchise.
Making a school district. Most
kinda matches up
schoolhouses
the
start with one room in this sense, and so I feel like it's the same place and it just grows. And
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I
the
agree.
buildings change. And
That's also a flashback in The Last Jedi, and we see it 3 different ways. So I mean, like, I don't know. It's a memory.
Very true.
I mean, we see it. We
So
see it
keep
more
that in mind.
extensively in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic,
yeah.
and it seems
but,
to be portrayed as kind of the same way,
the comics
where it's
are
like
always different, though.
grassy, like flatlands, like
I
not
mean-
a lot of mountains.
It's so hard when you're working on the comics to even account for all of this stuff. It just goes so
Yeah.
So you end up just like, it's a school, and then you find out whether or not the people looking at it at Lucasfilm or anywhere else look at it and go, no, change it, put a mountain here. Or if they're overworked and just go, it doesn't matter, just push it through. The book needs to hit print.
Yeah,
So
no,
who
you're
knows?
right. You're
yeah, so I
definitely
mean,
right.
between all
That's a
the
great
different
point.
creators, they could just sort of changed. Like
Yeah.
at least it's like a green leafy planet.
Yeah,
It's not like it's like a
this is
different
the
looking.
basic story. This is what we need to tell because this is what the main story is. And I don't know, there's always differences, and there's always people remember things differently. I think that's the biggest thing in the running theme of Star Wars recently, when they keep changing things and people are like, oh my god, it's different. It's like, relax,
Yeah.
come on, things can be like interpreted differently.
Pablo Hidalgo said something interesting about that not that long ago on Twitter, I think, where he was talking about the changes in Kanan's origin between the comic and the Bad Batch,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how as these things go, the details will change. But the heart of the story is fundamentally the same. So as we have all these different people and all these different parts all working in tandem, trying to work on something that interweaves seamlessly, it never will, right? And so sometimes we go back and sometimes we change things. Sometimes we try to do another chapter here that corrects this. But ultimately, as long as the overall sense of what you're seeing or reading or whatnot matches, it's really more tonal. And everyone often looks for those really minutia details that we can't possibly perfectly interweave.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, that's true.
I would hope he's right because he is published with Lucasfilm Stories.
Yeah.
As long as
Like,
they
I
don't
think
change
he
any
knows.
details with Sidon. I mean,
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's
Oh, God.
he's
he's gonna have
solid.
that cool speeder.
Look,
and all that.
I live in fear.
Just keep
Wait,
the
I'll be
side
retconning
mobile
all my
and
work.
all that.
If they do, it'll be pitchforks from us and you. So
That's right. That's true.
That's
And
We can do
we'll
that.
make sure to keep in the same spirit.
Norm-
the same-
It's
Yeah.
great point by Scott.
Hey,
who we were
Scott.
just
Oh,
talking
Scott.
about you,
Forgot
Scott.
about that.
I'm glad you're here. We were
With
just talking
Yoda's
about
saber
you.
being destroyed in was it the Vader comic?
Yeah.
The
See-
Was it?
Yeah, in the Vader comic, right after Order 66, when Mazamita is having like a big like speech about the oppression of the Jedi and stuff, he holds up Yoda's lightsaber, and it's like the last one that he tosses in this giant furnace filled with lightsabers, and they all burn. But I always argue that like there are so many lightsabers, so many background lightsabers, so many like indistinct lightsabers. They always look the same. Like I feel like there are lightsaber templates that people use or that the Jedi use, or backup sabers. And also I'm pretty sure in one of the Tales of Republic Heroes comics, Yoda rebuilds his lightsaber. I think that's a thing.
If they didn't, I'm going to see if I can do that. I'm going to do the rebuilding of Yoda's lightsaber comic.
Fix it.
Fill that hole.
there you
Fix,
go.
you gotta
Alright.
fix
You
it.
heard it here first.
That's what Star Wars is all about.
Your only hope.
this is a little terrifying, honestly.
It is.
Oh yeah,
Dude. Oh my
I was
god.
picturing just like Luke using that as like,
the last time a Skywalker did that.
yeah, seriously. Oh yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah,
Jack.
good segue here because like
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't know if Grogu like saw like Anakin storming the temple and whatnot, and like I find it absolutely not surprising at all that Filoni wedged in Order 66 again.
Yeah,
God.
he had
Can't-
to.
I
He
can't
loves
help himself.
he just loves ripping off that Band-Aid, huh?
Just like throw me into like
And
a trash compactor. 'Cause I can't deal with it.
I wouldn't be
Like,
surprised if
what's
the clone
going on
armor
here?
was like reused assets from another show, perhaps,
Oh, yeah.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
I heard it
Definitely.
was practical.
Oh, yeah. No, it looks
Yeah,
practical.
that might be the first on-screen
I think so.
like physical armor of clones.
I know.
Which is
Wow.
insane.
Which is
yeah.
it is absolutely insane.
Please, you don't understand.
Oh, can you pull that one back up, Jane?
Which one? This one?
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's Oppo in the middle, right? With the
Yeah,
arrow.
the
It's
popular
not.
theory.
It's
It's
not.
not.
It's a theory. It's
If you-
not a pronounced enough of an arrow. So Sergeant
You gotta
Apo
zoom in.
is he's also in
Hands.
Revenge of the Sith, but like I don't remember this. But he's in the Umbara arc, but he has like the bigger arrow on his forehead. But you can't. There really isn't an arrow. It just kind
I'm
of.
gonna
looks
pretend
like
I see it.
If
My
you brighten
headcanon
it,
for
if you
now.
brighten it,
Headcanon's a
it's not an
beautiful thing.
arrow.
Can't.
And someone
Head
there was a
arrow,
rumor one of
not a
the
beautiful thing.
those Jedi was the guy from
Syndralic.
Revenge of the Syndralic.
Yeah, I think they
Who-
one in the
Revenge of the
center.
Sith.
You know that
Yeah,
makes
and I
sense.
thought that
Blonde
too.
hair.
But also, we see Syndralic fight Anakin in the security recordings, and
Yeah.
I don't think he walked away from that fight.
Probably
That's
not.
true.
Unless
I can't
He like
enhance
fought
others, okay?
Anakin and was like, "Oh, I gotta save Baby Yoda," and then just like left. What, like right in the middle of the fight, he just like walked
Flashback,
away. With, like,
baby.
Well,
Also,
25-year-old baby Grogu, like, yeah, I'm sure his memory's still even fuzzy, even in a flashback.
yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
This is a while ago.
Apparently
That's
you were
his
wrong.
Yeah.
perception. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I was
I-
wrong. Yeah.
I
haven't
love
read
how
that
You
Luke
can
is
barely get
literally
that
just.
snippet.
I love how like Luke is literally just like, "Do you want to remember? I can help you remember." And he just yeah.
2 seconds.
It was
No,
so
no,
sad.
Like it's
Not even a
terrible too
nod or
because
a shake.
Yoda or Luke is like, "Oh, do you remember any funny talking Yodas in your past? Let me check." And he like goes in, he's like, "Remember genocide?" And Grogu's like, "No, wait a minute. I was just chilling. What are you doing?"
So is that
Yeah,
is
Grogu should leave.
Grogu's
is that
get the
Luke?
hell out of there.
is that Luke reading his thoughts like Kylo Ren, or is that like
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, I think
Something
it's
along
a
those
bit
lines.
of that, a bit of just like trying to just like jolt, just give him like an extra boost of, hey, this is the Force, connect with it, really dig deep kind of thing.
Grogu doesn't want to be
then-
there at all? He
then,
just
hey,
wants to
you're
eat the
finally awake.
frogs and flip around.
I have to ask again since I know Scott is in the chat. Scott, is this you?
Yes, Scott, that's you.
Dead ring. You need to recreate that shot ASAP.
Definitely.
So Grogu hopping around yesterday made me realize something.
Oh
Is
boy.
it the species thing?
Well, it's the fact that his name is just Frogu, but they just moved one letter down.
So he's a big frog.
He's a frog.
Who eats
They've been
frogs?
setting up his like
And
leaping
he eats his own
ability.
kind.
Wait.
He's
The
just a
worst
frog. He's froggy.
Real-
Realization
Where is it?
since Mon Calamari.
Oh my god.
Fun fact about Grogu's name,
Perfect.
though. Apparently, the person who plays Carson Teva, whose name I'm forgetting, and people are going to kill me for
Paul
forgetting
Sunke.
his name. Yes. Shared a story in which apparently Dave Filoni, George Lucas, and Jon Favreau sat down and were talking about Baby Yoda's name. And when Dave Filoni threw out the name Grogu, George Lucas said, "No, that's a terrible name. I don't like that name." And he looked down at Dave Filoni's shirt, and of course, it had a wolf on it. And he sits there for a second. He goes, "Axe Woves. That's his name." And they were like, "Okay, George." But then later on, they were like, "You know what? That actually is a pretty badass name." So they named one of the Mandalorians in
Yeah, that worked out.
Bo-Katan's
Yoda.
group Axe
Oh,
Woves. But
gosh.
if George had his way, Grogu would be Axe Woves. And I
Anyway.
What
think
was
that's
Yoda's
funny.
working name? I can't remember.
Frogu.
Anyway.
It was Frogu.
Frogu.
I like Frogu.
Frogu.
Grogu walking around is a
Yeah.
bit.
I love
odd.
it. I love it.
I
It's
love it.
adorable.
He just stumbles around, but it's
It's
He's a baby. He's a
adorable, but
toddler.
it's also I can see how it's a little bit
Very
creepy because
puppety.
like in The Mandalorian, I love seeing him like toddle around like after Din, like that was like really cute. But like
And in the
seeing it
snow.
in this,
Yeah.
in the snow, there's like
That
one
was funny.
shot in the episode with the spiders. He's like
He's so
Oh,
fast.
dude, when he's zooming, he's
Oh,
flying.
yeah.
he should have been flipping
kills
there.
me.
Yeah.
So I love how in this episode, he's walking next to Luke and he's like he takes like 3 steps and then he jumps. 3 steps. and
I
then
thought
he
Luke
jumps.
was
very cute.
Yeah,
I
he
thought
was
Luke
like-
was
He
doing
was.
that.
Luke was
Yeah,
doing it.
Luke was carrying
Okay.
him.
Luke
That
was
makes-
kind of pushing him along.
That makes much more sense because later on he can't hop. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably why he taught him to do force jump, because he's like, I can't keep doing this. You got to figure this out right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Luke talks about how he's not really teaching Grogu, which I disagree with, but whatever. He's just like helping him remember his past abilities that he's blocked through trauma. And I
He's just
think that's
bullying
like
him.
super Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Fallen Order introduced that concept of like losing the Force through trauma, and I love that they're like continuing that.
Yeah. They're
That's a
repressing
good point.
it.
He also does need a new outfit. He's still
He
wearing
does.
that.
Why is he
That
still wearing?
bag.
When has that been washed?
Never.
Ugh.
Never.
R2 gave him a hose down.
So
Try to take a sponge to it.
Go ahead.
am I jumping ahead if I go into like the choice? Should I even talk
No,
about
we
that
were-
yet? Can I talk
No,
about the
go
choice?
for it.
We were
Yeah,
talking
let's
about
do
that.
it.
Go for it.
Because it's bugging me so much that I have this image of Luke at the Endor after the Death Star blew up, of hugging all his friends and his sister and all his like, hey everyone, we're a big family. And now, what is it? 5 years later, no attachments to a baby. To a baby, you can have no one. Like,
That's okay.
It's interesting.
I get that. And
I feel like it's a test.
recently,
I really feel like it's a test.
recently I've kind of re-looked at what attachment means. I got into this long conversation with someone online recently that kind of changed my views before this episode even came out, which was perfect. But all the quotes that this person shared with me and everything they talked about, attachment to George Lucas seemed to be specifically in terms of possessive, obsessive love. So, and somebody else put it really well in another thread that I was in, where they said that the Jedi became so obsessed with banning and blocking attachment that they forgot to practice compassion. And I think that is what Luke does not practice attachment when he saves Vader, but he uses familial love to practice compassion, which is something that the Jedi of old lost their way on. Because attachment to George Lucas is like 100% just like a bad thing. It's like possessive. It's like the inability to lose the person you love. And that's not Luke, because Luke specifically is able to let go of Vader, and he's able to let go of himself too, to save Vader. It's like a two-way street. And, you know, Anakin wasn't able to let go of himself or Padme, and that's why his thing was considered an attachment.
And Luke is unable to an Empire. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And when Luke is unable to, he gets his ass whooped, because that's a bad thing. He gets punished.
Yeah.
I think it might. So that the episode made me rethink it a different way. To me, like, and you bringing up George makes me think I may be wrong here, but I mean, it's all interpretation, so I can have fun with it. To me, I'm wondering, maybe the reason a Jedi who wants to truly achieve power in the Force, and I think that's a big part of it, the possessive part of it, over obsessing over somebody, but maybe because you're trying to connect to the broader Force as a whole, attachment to one connection of the Force, being one life form, or a couple, distracts the mind from being able to fully achieve what a Jedi is fully their potential of.
That falls in line exactly with what I'm saying. That's exactly right. I totally agree with you.
Good.
That, I mean,
it's
attachment
a very
can also
fine
be
line.
seen as something that takes precedent over the Jedi Order, over
distracts.
The broad compassion for everyone.
Scott has a good point about, and I think Clone Humor mentioned it too, about it's sort of a test, and it's sort of like
I mentioned it too.
Yeah.
And Luke offering him a choice, at first it seems malicious, especially because this whole episode is like Ahsoka just kind of being like, nope, you're not, nope, you can't see him, nope, and then Luke kind of keeping Grogu away and like all this stuff, and it just feels very like hostile. It feels hostile, and then the choice at the end also kind of comes with this hostile connotation, but I don't think it's supposed to be malicious. I think it's supposed to be literally Luke saying, all right, you don't seem to be into this. Let's sit down and, you choose, and we'll work on whatever you choose, and we'll see what the future holds. I don't know. I don't think of it like an ultimatum. I hate ultimatums.
I think a big chunk of this is
only Sith
Luke
deal
is still.
absolutes.
Yeah.
Luke is still figuring out how to be a teacher, I feel, because like he is still learning the ways of the Force himself, obviously, and because you never stop learning as you're learning everything about this. So, and it's said as well that he will be like the first student at this school at least, and like we know that he has trained Leia, but not completely at that moment in time. So like he is still like learning and figuring out like what he wants to do. So this is also, I guess, in a sense, kind of like a test / like choice for Luke, is in which like, do I really want to like take this kid on, and like can I actually like do this and actually help him? So I think that's also a piece of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't seem confident in himself teaching so far. He does and he doesn't, because the whole I'm not teaching him, I'm just reminding him of his, so he's like being hard on himself, it feels like.
I had a theory, putting in when I was watching it, slipping into the writer brain part 2, I started thinking, okay, so we're like 5 years from now is when Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo, comes to the school, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And I thought, we're working under the assumption that Luke, I have no doubt that he's not doing anything out of malice. I don't think he's being malicious. We don't know that I think there's a possibility that Luke is teaching, he's setting everything up wrong. He's repeating some of the mistakes the Jedi made in the past. He's telling, a child, you have to let go of the attachments. He's putting them in these impossible situations. We know that Ben gets not just physically, but emotionally separated from his parents. And we know that doesn't go so great either. Luke makes a bunch of mistakes and then decides ultimately to isolate himself because it all went bad. So I think that it would be an interesting way to set that up, like Luke has no guidance, really. He was never trained to do this, and he's doing everything he can to do it right, but that doesn't mean he's doing it right. He may be making big mistakes.
Yeah.
And
that's a great point.
Yeah.
Projecting his... No, go ahead.
I'm just wondering who, to Landry's point, like who gave him the ideas of the classical, follow the old Republic style or High Republic thinking with all this monastic stuff, because Ahsoka shouldn't be preaching that stuff because she is no Jedi, and this isn't like she doesn't believe in any of that stuff. She's disillusioned, and she's also acting pretty, prequel era Jedi-y around everybody. It's like this isn't you.
I think
The
it was a little
rebels,
funny
what's
that
going on?
Ahsoka was there at all.
Yeah.
I feel like she was only there because she told Luke, "Hey, this Mandalorian is gonna show up, so let me like stand guard while you do what you're doing."
Her and R2 were setting
and
the pick.
and she does.
Yeah.
Oh my God, her and R2, like that.
Classic.
Well,
I
I
can't believe
love
like
that.
that happened.
I would have
But
loved.
yeah, I really feel like Ahsoka is just there because she knew that like Din was gonna show up at one point, so she's like, all right, let me deal with him, and you can deal with Grogu. And so Ahsoka, I don't think she's buying into whatever Luke is doing, and like she'll like talk with him because like she knows who he is, and like obviously Anakin was her master, and like she respects it at the end of the day. I think that's what it is. She doesn't necessarily like buy into it, but she's like, yeah, I respect what you're doing, but I'm not
can see
gonna
that.
interfere here.
But getting into weird choices, Ahsoka and Luke's first on-screen meeting happened off camera.
Off camera. That's what
Yeah.
I was
I mean,
about
Yeah,
to say.
that's real bummer.
That's
I would have
interesting.
loved to see them meet and talk about Anakin for
They
crying
might
out
have
loud.
that in the Ahsoka show.
Right.
Because it'll focus more on her. Maybe they'll do a flashback.
I would love that.
But no matter what, we're going to get it out of order, which is an odd choice.
It
We're
was.
sitting there. We've all been waiting for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's
weird.
a momentous thing, and there's a lot of questions. I feel like Luke would
Yeah.
be sitting there going, "So where were you the last 5 years when I could have really used your help? I
Yeah.
mean, really could have used your help. Like
That's a great
with
question.
the guy you know. I mean, and so to not have that felt. Well, I love seeing Ahsoka every chance I can, and I loved seeing their interaction together. It felt like I had stepped into a film in the middle of the second act. Like,
Yeah.
where's the setup for this? It seems like if it's going to be in a separate show, maybe I would have liked to see that first. So, not that
I
it's
agree. I
bad
think
what
I
they
would've
did
Wanted that
in
first.
terms of the execution of that scene, but where's all the other stuff?
To circle
Yeah.
back to the
I
opening
mean, that's like
take,
classic
the
Star
timeline
Wars.
is that everywhere, and what's actually going on with this plot? We don't know,
Where
but
the
we're
hell
along
are
for
we
the
going?
ride.
What
Where
is
are we
going on
going?
in this
I was
What's
just gonna
going
say
on
it.
with this?
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know.
How did
Welcome
they-
to the
what-
Jawas life.
We gotta get back to that later.
First of all, I will
Matt-
admit.
Matt, do you want to talk about this? Oh wait, not this. Sorry, this one.
I was
gonna-
Oh, I nearly cried.
I mean,
Mm.
honestly, that is my favorite scene, and I'm definitely not the only one.
Oh, you know
because
what's-
Everything the light touches.
that-
Is it Yoda says in Last Jedi, always looking to the horizon? Is that in Last
Yeah.
Jedi?
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's a Yoda quote, and he's
He-
looking
he
to the
says it
horizon there.
in Empire too, I think.
Luke
Or
loves
always-
a
Yeah, I
good
know.
tape shot. Yeah.
Couldn't remember.
But God,
Horizon.
that scene blew me away. That's going in my head as like one of the just like
The twin
So
sun
good.
stream swells, and you're just like,
Dude.
oh God.
one of the iconic Luke moments. Like right now, we're getting Luke training a Padawan, and it's like that's the image I'm gonna think of from now on when I think of like him training Grogu. Is that sitting in the bamboo stalks? I love this planet wherever they are. They still don't give us a name for this planet, but I absolutely love this planet with like the babbling brook, the quiet streams, the tree on the cliff
Perfect place for a
near
temple.
the sun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all very quiet, very peaceful, and him running around doing flips in bamboo stalks. You can't get any more Jedi than that. I mean,
No.
it just felt so good.
Yeah,
Um,
Grogu feels like he's had his Dagobah moment, and
Did he
because
though?
just like Luke, he's too attached to his friends and family.
Yeah.
I love how Luke's
Sorry.
like, oh man, thank you for reminding me. I love that.
I'm
It's like,
sorry.
Oh my God,
Grogu's gonna
Luke
get
just
a kick
lets him
out of
get
this.
shot.
Sorry. Perfectly timed screen cap. I'm sorry.
Well, every main Jedi we've ever seen has obviously had some strong attachment, whether it's everybody. I mean, Anakin, Luke, Ezra, everyone but like Ahsoka, I guess. But I guess she formed attachment with Anakin and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has connection with or attachment with Satine, but he handles that like I think Obi-Wan handles his
Yeah, he
attachments
overcomes
the
it.
best.
Well, I feel
Yeah.
like we saw his whatever happened between him and the Duchess happened in his youth that we don't see on screen. Now, maybe there's a comic or a book that covered that I have not read.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Um,
Not yet.
Oh no, I want to write that because I love that story. I have so many things in my head for that one. Someone get me that job, please.
And then there's
Anyone's out there
Corky.
listening.
No,
Guys,
we
Liam.
don't
talk about Corky Kenobi.
Looks just like Obi-Wan.
He
Guys,
does
Corky
not.
Kenobi showing up next week.
Corky
They
Kenobi.
gotta explain themselves.
Anyway, continue.
The funniest thing is that right now we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett, but it's
I
all been
know!
Jedi
Yeah,
talk.
what?
We're talking about
What?
Luke training Grogu in the Book of
How?
Boba Fett.
There's no Boba Fett to talk about in this episode.
No.
Oh,
He's
well, no,
there.
we
We've
did see
seen
him. We saw him more this episode than we did last episode. We saw him
true.
for two frames.
We had this fun guy as well.
Yay.
Sorry, I forgot about
I
Oh, yeah.
love whatever the
Yay.
hell these animals are. They're so cool. They're
little
so
water
cool.
cool.
buffalo.
Like a water.
Um, Yeah, actual water buffaloes. Hang on. I have one picture
Hey,
of
Brent.
Boba. Can I find it? Maybe not. I take way too many screen caps. Here's one. I have
I'm
one
enjoying
picture of
There he
Boba.
is.
Hey.
There he is.
Wow.
The star of the
There
show.
he is.
There he is. And then one more. This is him doing the nod back to Din.
Yeah, he just does the
Whoa.
nod.
I
Doesn't
like
even
how
Look
they
at all
talk
had-
to
that
him.
they did
Boba
that.
action.
Yeah. I saw a funny post that was just like, yeah, we're bringing Boba back to his roots. He's just standing in the background, just giving a nod.
Yeah.
I would be okay if that's all he did, because it just has so much gravitas when he does it.
Yeah.
This episode,
Yeah.
when he the moments he was on screen, less is more with Boba Fett. It always has been, and that doesn't mean he isn't the driving force of the show. He could be, while you still present him in this very distant manner. There's a wall between him and the world, and that's okay. That's not what we've been getting. And again, I've been enjoying it, but man, those scenes where he is just sitting there, yeah, okay, I'm like, yeah, perfect. There's Boba Fett.
That's what we're used to seeing from the OT. Just nodding and touching
I
people on
think
the
I
chin.
had- Oh yeah, there was the full group also, just looking at him.
There they
looking
are.
at Din.
I wouldn't stand there.
Like,
I would not stand there.
Yeah, seriously,
Yeah,
there is a
they all-
Rancor there.
They all
now.
trust him quite a bit.
but yeah, that's interesting that they're all ooh, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Landry, what are your thoughts on the mods there? The gang.
Yeah, the crew.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I know that some people have had some very different things. I couldn't believe when they literally referred to them as mods, and I know they're talking about modifications, but I mean, it is such an intentional scooter mod. Okay, unlike some people, I feel they're very Star Warsy, but I will agree with some things I've seen, and my take on it when I saw it was like, why are their bikes so clean? Their bikes should be dirty. I wish that they had just had grungy old speeders, and Boba Fett says, come work for me, and he takes them to Jabba's palace and opens up Jabba's garage, says, take your pick. And then they
Yeah.
ride out on their shiny new, because
That would've been
these
funny.
kids were just stealing water. Like, they were stealing water, but what, to wash their bikes?
That's important.
Yeah, I guess
that's
so.
right.
It is. It is.
Just
That
like
was
my-
my only problem. I don't have a problem with them conceptually. I don't have a problem with their body modification, which was a nice throwback, actually. The body modification guy is wearing the same kind of things as two characters, Thromba and Leparo, from The Force Awakens, that work in Maz Kanata's castle, which I wrote the book on.
Hey.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're crypto surgeons, and
Full circle back.
so I got to see that. I'm like, I contributed a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
That's
So
the
I
thing about
enjoyed it.
Star Wars. You know, every contribution ripples out. So
Yeah, that's one of the great things about working in that universe at all. You don't know if the stuff you do will get picked up, but you never know how it will. I mean, just for an example, the
AJ, if you
we
want to pull it up a little.
I
I don't know how much. I don't have this book quick draw, but I do. But yeah, you can. That's what he's referring to. I'm
Oh
not
wow,
sure.
yeah.
With the attachments
Yeah.
that the Fragosians have, right? The Fragosians
Yeah,
have on their
yeah.
Versions,
arms.
yeah.
Yeah.
actually, I think see, I didn't name them. I think Pablo Hidalgo did. I'm not sure, but I think it was him. I think it's Fragosians.
Fry
Yeah, 'cause they look like the
Yeah,
little,
Fry
um,
guys.
Guys.
They're little
Speaking
fry
of
guys.
McDonald's guys.
Speaking
Fry
of them,
guy.
Oh
here
my
you go.
gosh.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever see this?
We did a pumpkin decorating thing, and Matt did
I did.
that.
This is my pumpkin we did for the pumpkin decorating contest.
Oh, the secret. Now, that's exactly it. They open up just like each puffin stuff. If you ever saw that,
That's
Yeah.
like
perfect.
from the 70s. That's
Oh my gosh.
fantastic.
Yeah.
They are secret monsters.
Yeah,
They look
they're-
so cute.
I love them.
Um,
Anyway, we gotta get back on track.
Yeah.
we're
Right.
off track.
We
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
answered this earlier, Brent, but he was asking Landry his thoughts on the sidestepping into other stories and whatnot.
well, I mean, I think that the execution of sidestepping those other stories has been really good, but I feel like the pace, it could work, but I wish it was paced differently. Like I said, you could take the Mandalorian episodes. Let's face it, we have a segue of 2 episodes of the Mandalorian inserted in the Book of Boba Fett. Take those and put them at the beginning. It would work fine. But when they're just before the climax, I feel like the story arc, and you want to look at your story and then it builds like this, right? Instead, I feel like we're getting
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it's not that I think the sidesteps are badly executed. I just think they're oddly placed. Now, who knows? The next episode could really reframe all of that. It can the one thing, and I this has happened to me before with any of the Favreau and Filoni things here, either or, is more when they end, they can recontextualize what you saw before. So I have an open mind. I'm willing to see how it goes. But if I had my choice, I would have just arranged the episodes differently, maybe, or the scenes differently, so that we build in where Boba Fett is a background character in his own show. That's fine, as long as he's a driving force behind the action. He does not have to be center stage. He doesn't even have to be seen, as long as is it Fennec? Am I remembering her name right? Fennec Shand?
Yeah.
Shows up at the end of the first Mandalorian episode, says, Boba needs your help. We don't need to see Boba Fett at all, and yet still he's the driving force behind it. And then we know he's doing all this stuff so he can get back to Boba Fett. We still don't need to see Boba Fett. He's still the driving force. So it doesn't have to be about him to still be about him, but that's not what they did because of the way they arranged the stories.
That's my new favorite take on the whole show, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he is driving. Other than like going to see Luke, he has driven everything. Like, but that was we kind of jumped into Mando, and that they had to show that, I guess.
Meanwhile, I think that Din Djarin down there fell asleep just like this.
Which brings us to hey Brando.
Hey, Brando, how's it going?
Ben from college. How's it going, Brando?
Oh man. Guys, can we talk about Cobb Vanth again and the
This is
duel
awesome.
in
That's what I'm
the
waiting for.
standoff?
Cobb
Let's talk
Vanth.
about the ending.
How great is the
Okay,
title,
first
right?
First of all, sorry.
Just
I
two
love
dudes
the,
checking out a car.
Two dudes checking
Like
out
that fucking
Starfighter
deputy.
because
Sharon Carr.
Classic.
I mean, what more can you want? What more can you need?
oh my god. I love how Din literally goes. He says to Boba. He says to Fennec, really, hey, I know someone, and Boba's just like, he literally looks at Fennec just like, who does this guy know? Like, who does he know aside from us that we don't already have?
We're your only
Boba should
friend.
know.
I think that's hilarious.
I have
first
other
of all.
friends.
Boba should know Cobb Vanth, though. He knew his name in Mandalorian Season 2.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me get to the right spot here. Make sure I have my screen caps lined up. Because I don't. Here, I'll put this one up.
Love Space Cowboys.
Space Cowboys.
In the meantime, here you go, guys.
I live for the
This is very
Jawas,
wizard.
whole arc.
Okay, I'll be
Wizard.
honest. I thought he was going to recruit the Jawas.
I
He
did
was
too
like,
for a minute.
What do you
Oh, we're gonna go get an army. I'm like, an army of Jawas? Are you kidding?
These Jawas
Hey,
are
quick
savage.
five-
Look at that.
Dude, look at that. Yeah,
A
you're right.
5-second wide shot of Din talking to some Jawas would be all the implication I need to assume he hired them.
Okay.
Dude, it's
Here it
character
is.
development. At first, he's
Ugh.
slaughtering Jawas, and then he's hiring them for his army. That would be
It could
perfect.
be.
He hired them last week.
But yeah, here's this,
Oh.
and
Oh,
then
Oh.
I'll be honest. I said this to AJ. I'll be honest. When Cobb looks to the side, and we just see the silhouette, we knew immediately who it was, and I'm just like, Cobb Vanth is gonna die. I can't deal with this, and it overshadowed Cad Bane appearing at all.
Looks so
Oh
good.
my
By
god,
the
it's
way-
amazing.
Oh, jeez.
God, he looks so
He
good.
looks so
He's
good.
fantastic.
His mouth looked. I don't know why I was looking at his mouth the whole time. Every time
That's
I
all
watched
you-
this
all you
scene, I
could
just
see.
look at his mouth. But his mouth
Yeah.
looks so good, and his
Yeah.
teeth. He looks freaky. This dude looks
so
legitimately.
The eyes are
terrifying.
perfect.
Like,
He's intimidating.
Yeah,
Best
even-
pointy
Like-
teeth in Star Wars.
I think if I was like 5 or 6 years old watching this, I would have nightmares.
Oh yeah.
I would be
Yeah.
terrified of Cad Bane. Like he looks like a monster.
He's so incredible.
I think Cad Bane is an interesting choice for them to use because I've often thought of Cad Bane in the Clone Wars. By the time the Clone Wars animated series came out, we had a fundamentally different Boba Fett than we did when there was just the original trilogy. When I was a kid and the original trilogy came out, Boba Fett was, a merciless, by all appearances, cruel, bounty hunter. He was bloodthirsty is wrong word, just cold. He has a different voice. Two, he does not care about Han Solo being tortured. He only wants his money. He's basically what we get with Cad Bane, but Boba Fett fundamentally changed during the prequels, and they started taking him on this different path. So they come in, and this is all hypothetical. I have no idea what the thought process was behind the creation of Cad Bane, but when watching it, I felt like, oh, they wanted that Boba Fett iconic type, so they just create this new version. He's a mirror image of what Boba Fett was in his original incarnation in the original trilogy, and now they're going to face each other. Did they face each other in the Clone Wars ever?
So they
was
did
a
scrapped
a
episode.
deleted or an unreleased episode. It's an unfinished scene that you can find, I think, on YouTube or somewhere, where they do have a face-off, and that's how Boba Fett gets his dent.
Right.
And that is canon because in Bad Batch, Cad Bane. Geez, Louise, I was struggling there.
Tongue
Cad Bane
twister.
has like a metal plate in his head, so we know that they shot each other because Boba has the dent, he has the metal plate, so they've left their mark on each other. And this is going to kind of, I guess, be like.
I hope they touch upon that, and I
I
hope
really
Fennec
hope
Yeah,
so
they
too
will.
because
touches
that is
upon.
So
such
close.
a missed
I know.
opportunity. Ugh.
They have to.
So-
I mean, with Filoni literally wrote that that backstory, so why wouldn't they include it? So
Cad Bane feels very much he is the dark reflection of Boba Fett. He's what Boba Fett was. And so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see them face off in this way, since Boba Fett, especially at this point, has gone through such a transformation.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
literally facing himself as the best way that they could on screen.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I never thought of that, but
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
I
Cad
love,
Bane was there the last time he tried to reinvent himself after Cad tried to take him under his wing, and that happened, and then Boba tried to go off and make it on his own.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love how Cad Bane strolls into the town, really threatening. He's like, "I'm about to shoot you, but first, let me tell you how Boba used to work for the Empire." That's pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, "All right, Cad,
Yeah,
I
you
like
work
your
for bad people,
morals."
too.
All of a
Yeah.
sudden,
I love how he like over explains everything, and I love how he says to Cobb, you shouldn't have gotten rid of your armor. So I'm very curious to know how much he actually knows about Cobb Vanth, because
He
like
knows everything.
how
he
long
knows
has he been
everything.
like watching him? Because like
Spooky.
I didn't think of that.
when Cobb like looks
That's
at
a good
him
point.
and you see his eye and you see Cad Bane's eyes for the first time, Cobb Vanth is like, yeah, just like that. I don't think it's like oh shit, this guy's scary. I think it's more of like, I know exactly who this is, and maybe it's because he's a marshal and like he knows like bounty hunters, obviously, but like maybe it's also because they've crossed paths somehow in the past. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
And
I
I
love-
just
That could be
find
there.
that so interesting.
I love how the scene was acted. I love Timothy Olyphant does such a good job of playing Cobb. He's so steady.
He's the Western king.
He's
He's
in a
staring
Western.
down Cad Bane, but he knows, he sees in the corner of his eyes that his stupid idiot deputy
Oh, the deputy
is about to
Yeah.
pull his
the
gun.
deputy.
So you can see he's like looking. He doesn't take his eyes off Cad, but at the same time he's like, "Don't do it."
And he
There
But of
goes
course,
the
it's too
deputy.
late.
There he
And
He
if-
did
goes.
for a second. That's the thing. The deputy distracted him, and it was just perfect to create enough, because I think if the deputy wasn't there, Cobb would have won.
Yeah,
Based on what we saw
Yeah.
in that first part, and I think that was just so well done. Classic Western duel, and just when he just like unloaded into the deputy, I'm like, yes,
God.
thank you.
Deputy.
I
on,
I
man.
can't. I'm still laughing at this. Just the he's new.
He's
Just for
new.
me.
He's new.
Yeah, you can't park here.
Not anymore.
But yeah,
I
because
did.
of the deputy also, that's why Cad Bane missed, kind of, almost, and hit Cobb in the shoulder instead
Yeah.
of actually like kill-shotting him. So
Right.
Where's Toto? Toto is probably
where's Toto?
scrapped. Because how old's Cad Bane now? Like
Bring back
70?
Seth Green,
Old.
71.
Oh, poor Toto.
71.
Old man
What's his
refuses to
lifespan?
quit. I don't know.
I apparently
Scott.
people have been talking online about how Duros have the same lifespan as humans, but they can always change that.
I mean, like,
He's got so many body mods now.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's the
There you
original
go.
mod. But I was gonna make a joke about he walks out of the desert. He's just been walking from Mos Espa, and it's just the biggest trail of toothpicks you ever seen on the way.
Everyone walking
That's-
through the desert.
That's how Boba finds all his
So
wood.
cool.
He's
The
getting all
Pikes
these
dropped him off in
toothpicks.
like the mountains.
That's the only place to find wood in the desert.
I agree though that
Yeah.
Cad's been working for the Pikes the entire time, and they haven't ran into an issue until Cobb decides to kick over the spice in the middle of the.
Which a lot of money.
It's a
Lot of money,
fun.
yeah.
Uncorruptible Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth is just so good.
He's such a good
We love
character.
him.
I love him.
A book character too. Like,
my God, a
like
book
don't forget,
character.
like he was a book character.
Freetown.
Matt
Yeah,
knows
when
all
they
about-
mentioned Freetown.
Matt,
Speaking of books,
Freetown.
Freetown. I cannot stress this enough. How I jumped out of my seat. It's so funny. Luke, Ahsoka, R2D2, all these characters. I'm like, whoa, this is great.
Oh, wait,
But
sorry.
Freetown lost it. Oh my God.
There it
In
is.
Freetown now.
in Aftermath, Mos Pelgo, which they also call it Mos Pelgo, but in the Aftermath trilogy, the town of Mos Pelgo is made up of freed slaves. So they rename Mos Pelgo to Freetown, kind of represent, the fact that they're all free now. And Cobb Vanth has a scar on the back of his neck. He's a freed slave. I don't know if they're ever going to touch on that.
So I'd say now they're free of the tyranny of the Tusken Raiders and the Crate Dragon, which is
yeah,
free
or
town.
the Freetown is their stated goal in terms of the Pikes. That's
I like
I don't
this.
think the town knows about the Pikes because Cobb straight up was just like, all right, get the town together. We have a lot to talk about.
well, the
and
bartender knows about the Pikes.
I don't think the bartender knows about the Pikes either.
Yeah, he does. He
I love that
he
guy.
was in the bar and he was like, we don't want to fight. We don't want anything. And then when
Oh.
Cad Bane
Oh.
comes in and shoots his sheriff, he's
Well,
like, wait a minute.
The bartender
fight
knows
came to
about
us.
Din's problem with the Pikes because he's like, that's a city folk problem. He
Yeah.
doesn't know that there's a problem literally in their backyard as well. Because
Well,
like,
now
Cobb
he does because Cad
Cobb
Bane showed up
definitely-
and shot the dude.
So,
True.
so Cad
Yeah,
Bane, did we already talk about this? I was like looking at the comments. That Cad Bane is probably the one that killed the Tuskens.
I keep saying that. I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That would
agree.
make sense. And that's kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
that old theory.
I hadn't thought about it, but yeah.
It's like that old theory that Boba Fett was the one that killed Uncle Owen and Beru, not the stormtroopers.
Which
It's
is
no
not true.
disintegrations. Which, yeah, I guess
But
it's not true. But it reminds
We
me.
do
He's a
we
secret
do
big
see
bad.
Boba visit the Skywalker homestead though when he's hunting for the identity of the Death Star
That's
destroyer.
Jamie, do you
Um,
have the picture of the
The what?
thing we noticed with the bones
Oh.
in the?
Let me see.
I hope
I
it's
don't
in
think
here.
I uploaded it, but I can get it. So
Ah.
continue.
Are you talking about
No, just
essentially
continue. Just continue.
I was gonna say the bones.
the rib cage in the bar?
Yeah,
I didn't
Yeah.
upload
Oh,
it.
yeah,
so
that
let me-
was-
Let me
That was
find it.
cool. What a cool
that's
detail.
from
Let me
the
find
Crate
it.
Dragon, right?
Yeah,
How'd
that's
they
what I
fit that in
assumed.
there?
It's like they turned it into a building. They used it as support struts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Use what
Yes.
you got.
You guys
Exactly.
have the meat. Take the pearl. We just want
Everybody's
the bones. Jawas
everybody's
grab the skull.
using the bones. The Jawas get the
here's-
head.
Don't like the bones.
Here's the most random thing, and probably the most Book of Boba Fett thing that happened in this episode, and that is I'm just looking for the picture. When we go back
Oh,
to
yeah.
the sanctuary, like this was
R.I.P. man.
this was the biggest connection to the previous, like the beginning of the show.
R.I.P.
we go back
Garza
here.
Flip.
I thought she was. I take back everything I said about her.
She might still be alive. Who knows?
She's,
but like
she's gone, man.
you know,
You've been talking to
Yeah.
Ryan too much.
yeah, I have. I've disagreed with him, but I also see his point, I guess. But anyways,
Yeah.
you know who better not be dead? Cobb Vanth's not dead, but you know who
He's fine.
more
Oh, yeah.
so shouldn't be
Don't
dead?
worry, he's fine.
Finger and Dan.
Well, Figure and Dan.
Max.
Well,
I don't think
he-
that was Figure and Dan.
It's his
Whichever
cousin.
one.
But Max Rebo had he
the
was
Pikes-
not
He had the night off.
performing. He
The
was not
Pikes
performing.
called him
That
and
was
said-
that was so that we knew he wouldn't be dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I hope so.
So they're not going
We
to kill
had
Max
that
Rebo.
specific
No,
for
you can't.
sure.
After surviving Jabba's palace, you cannot kill or Jabba's sail barge. You can't kill Max Rebo. Just
Max
like
is
that.
Just had a
behind it
bad
all.
feeling about it that night. He's like, I'm taking
Yeah.
the night off.
I'm telling you, the Pikes like his music. They're fans, and they said, "Hey, Max, don't
Don't
show
work."
up today.
He's
Don't work
like-
tonight."
Don't go to school tomorrow.
He's
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
He went to the spa to get a. Would it be a
Wow.
manicure or a pedicure?
Well, he does that in the
Both.
Phantom Menace game.
Very good
No helmets
question.
were polished that night.
Oh man,
No,
dude.
but
Garza Thwip.
she was a cool character. I
She was
liked her.
great.
Yeah. I really like her.
And
No,
that
she's
that
not dead.
cantina was one of my favorites. I mean, Maz's Castle's up there for me, but this place was chill. It had the nice little like
Yeah.
bamboo plants or whatever.
The
and-
only air-conditioned place on Tatooine.
yeah,
No wonder it was popular.
Oh, here it is. Sorry, that took forever.
yeah. Look
Wow.
at
That's
that.
great.
The rib bones.
Someone took a
Yeah.
long tape measure. Was like, guys, this fits the bar perfectly.
We can do it.
It'll look so
Pivot.
cool.
It's like-
Just trust me.
Pivot.
It's like Family Guy when they bring the couch on the
Yeah,
Falcon.
yeah.
Yeah. No. Turn it. You know, we're doing this all
On its side.
backwards.
All right. Take the cushions off. Take the bottom legs off.
We're making this more work for ourselves than it needs to be.
no.
I love how we mentioned Max Rebo, and the entire chat is just Max this, Max that. Like it's
It was the
all
most
Max
important thing.
Rebo.
We had to
It
say
is.
it
It's
again.
very
Yeah.
important.
And that
Can't
the
bring
bomb,
him back and then take him away.
No.
That'd be
Exactly.
So cruel.
he survives every explosion.
That's also why Cobb Vanth isn't dead. You can't just bring him back just to take him away.
He got
know,
shot in the
that-
shoulder.
he's
Leia
alive,
also survived a
right?
shoulder
No,
shot.
sir.
He's alive, but that said, if they killed him, that would have been a very powerful moment. That would be a really good death scene. They
That's
didn't.
the, that's the
They
motivation
clearly
that
didn't.
Yeah.
the Pikes are the bad
I,
guys.
I thought that he was probably dead until the subtitles on my second watch, because they're like everyone's like, oh, get him a doctor, like, oh, get him a stim.
Yeah.
Oh.
He should be okay.
They run
But
up to him with the bandages.
And it
he's
really, I mean,
fine.
if you freeze frame that shot, he's
Yeah.
getting shot like right here. Like it
It's
literally
right
like
where Leia got
glances
hit.
off his shoulder.
It goes off the
Rebo,
shoulder.
Head of the syndicates.
He might be. I'm not ruling it
The
out.
Orlan.
was hit with a much lower power blast.
No,
That's-
is a
So
hot take.
we pulled this up earlier, and this was right after the bar blew up, and then they do a wipe from the top, so the top comes down. And I accidentally took this picture
So this is
because I wanted to get a
our
picture of the
TV.
temple, of our beautiful TV there and our
the-
bottles on the table. But
Yeah.
this is I don't know if this was intentional or not. Usually everything is, but it kind of looks like foreshadowing for Luke's temple
It
to
really
burn.
That
does.
certainly is cool.
That's
Certainly
basically
cool.
a
You
match
don't usually
transition.
make accidents like that. Is what
Right.
I'm gonna say. Those
That's
that
entirely intentional.
looks intentional to me.
Yeah, pretty cool. Sad but
Brilliant.
cool.
Well, I mean, I do think that ultimately they are. They're obviously steering everything towards the sequels, even if it's a distant steering. You know, they want it to connect. They want us to watch these things and then pick up the sequels and go, oh yeah, see, it was all there. All the stuff with cloning in the second season of Mandalorian, that was clearly them trying to clone the Emperor, and we got everything. It's like, and we had the, oh yeah, we knew there's what happened to Luke's. We had a sense of it. We saw it being built. Now we've seen it destroyed in a vision.
Yeah.
It all
So I
makes
mean, yeah, 20 plus years to cover, just about, right?
19. It's 19
Okay,
years
so 19.
before his
So
temple.
yeah, they're gonna
I
put
was
these
most
little
excited for
sprinkles
this.
in along the way.
It
And
didn't take that long
to
for
see
us
what-
to get all that
What-
news, actually. So.
What year is the temple destroyed? Have they revealed that?
28 ABY.
So at this point, aren't we about at 11 ABY now?
We are
I
at
think so.
9 ABY.
I thought that was when the show began, right? Was 9 ABY?
I don't think
Events of
we're
season
we're
one.
out of the year it takes place.
You think it's still
time
1
is
year?
confusing.
I think it's still 1 year.
You know what's confusing in this show? Time.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah,
confusing.
some
Very
dates would be great.
I agree.
Good point by
Give,
Scott
give me a
again.
map. Give me some time. I got a lot of
That's
questions
very
about
much
all
like
that
yeah.
stuff.
I
Clone
agree,
Wars
Scott.
recontextualized the prequels so
It did.
amazingly.
It
Exactly.
made
Yeah.
Anakin a much more rounded individual,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I'm excited
Well, the
to
clones.
see. Yeah, oh, the
Yes.
clones too.
Well, yeah.
The
How
Yeah.
could we forget the
clones.
clones?
Like that's what
mean-
makes Order 66 even more sad. Just
Well,
our,
I'll
our
admit, when I
best
first
friends turning
saw
on us.
Revenge of the Sith, it didn't have much impact to the clones. Like, all right, shoot him. Then you go. Now when Cody turns on Obi-Wan, it's like, but
He, like,
they
hits
went through years of war together,
Heartbreaking.
dragging each other across the battlefield, and he's
Yeah.
like,
And
yep.
Well, then you have moments like where Rex is literally fighting against it in his head, but
Oh.
Cody's just like, ice that dude.
Some
They
people
need
can
to
fight
bring
it a
Cody
lot
back
harder.
at some point, please.
They'll bring
But
Cody
you're
back.
100% right. I mean, because now we can poke at, like, we can point at specific clones in all the different scenes, and like, to an extent, be like, that's this clone, that's that clone. Like, it's getting that in depth. And it's
I know, right? We're like, is that Oppo? Could be Oppo. Like, you're right.
Seriously, we've come a long way.
Sad. So
Um,
sad.
Is there anything? Well, I think we covered this episode very well for all the stuff that was in it, and I'm afraid we forgot something. We got Cobb. We talked about Ahsoka, R2, the ant droids,
Sanctuary.
Luke. We talked
like
about
the
the
bench.
decision at the end.
Yeah,
And
I was over on the bench.
I was on
I
the
love the
bench.
bench.
I was
I was
over
on
on the bench.
What makes you any different from Darth Vader?
So what do we think happens in this finale? I hope it's over an hour long.
What's
Probably
going to
How are
more.
you gonna
happen?
fit a Rancor writing?
Rancor
going to
Ride
happen?
has to happen.
That was
going-
yeah. We have to see that.
The Rancor, and it's going to
Either-
be a
Rancor.
full 2.5 minutes of the Boba Fett theme song in slow motion. The full group of everyone, so Boba, Fennec, Din,
Tombstone.
Chrysanthemum, to the theme song from Tombstone. That's what it's going to be, of
Are
them
they gonna be
walking towards the
playing
camera, slow motion.
Our version of
yes,
the theme.
that's what it's
Yeah,
going
because
to
everyone
be.
walks through
This-
the desert.
Yeah, yeah,
I-
yeah.
What if
Yeah.
what if it goes bad? What if the whole thing is Boba Fett learning that he can't? This is a lost cause.
He can't rule with respect. I mean, that would honestly be great if we're getting a second season, or if we're getting more Boba Fett. I would love for this to play with my expectations of where this is going to go.
I'd like if it went really bad, because like there's no way you can like really go good from here with like one episode. You could just like make everything
It would be
explode.
very cheap unless it was perfect.
Do we think we're gonna get a season 2?
Well,
I don't.
No, because I think Tamir Morrison specifically said that this was a limited series when he talked about it in an interview once.
Limited to 2 seasons.
No, limited as in a mini series.
But it really is a sub-season of The Mandalorian. All these Star Wars shows of this era, anyway, are interwoven. Just like I think the Cassian Andor show, the Obi-Wan show, will all. And what else? Are they doing Lando still? Is that happening?
We have no idea.
There's
I
no
forgot
news
about
on
Lando.
it, but
If they do
They
those,
will.
I think we'll have a similarly interwoven thing.
Yeah.
In that era, the pre-Battle of Yavin era. But this story will continue in some form. It will continue to advance. It may not be called the Book of Boba Fett. The next chapter might be focusing on different character, or just Mandalorian season 3, or why am I blanking on her name?
Ahsoka?
Duchess Satine. No, Satine's sister.
Bo-Katan.
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 Yeah. Giving us another facet of what's happening at the same time or after that advances some of the elements of this, and the torch just gets carried further along by another main character.
I agree.
Yeah. No,
Andrew, I've got a question for you that we've sort of been batting around for a few weeks. Do you think the Pikes are the main bad guys, or do you think there is someone higher and there'll be a twist?
I think there has to be someone higher.
Yeah, I think so too.
Nope.
So we have like those two.
Face
Matt and Dinjarin think it's just the Pikes.
It's so classic Star Wars to escalate. You're fighting the battle you think you are, but there really is something else bigger behind the scenes. I mean, we've seen that historically in these in Star Wars. So yeah, I think it's going to be something more. It feels like it'd be a little anticlimactic if it's just the Pikes. I mean, just the Hutts showing up and going, "We're out."
Yeah, that was
from
odd.
the Pikes. They're that afraid of the Pikes.
Pikes are big. Pikes are scary.
Pikes aren't big.
Pikes
are big.
Show how much they've grown.
Yeah.
I feel like there has to be something bigger than just the Pikes. There you go.
That comment
Crimson
right there. Ever since the first episode, just listening through it all the way, the Crimson Dawn like motif is in the end of the theme song. So like
It's in the credits. Be cool.
It's the same notes as the theme song. It's very convenient. Maybe the whole theme song was built around hiding that little Easter egg.
I think that would be
I'd be okay with
fantastic.
it being wrong for sure. I
Hey,
think
like I said, same. I don't mind being wrong. I wouldn't mind a bigger villain.
I will
just
be
don't
very
think it's
insulted if the music lies to me, though. I will say that much. Like,
Well, I will do this. Palpatine's theme matched very closely to Rey's theme in Force Awakens, and regardless of the story behind how the 3 sequel movies were made, that ended up being an Easter egg, whether that was intentional at the time or not.
Yeah,
so
happy accident.
It's our
totally
first appearance of
possible.
Snoke. I'm going with that.
Yeah.
It's Snoke. Snoke is behind it all.
What a prediction!
I love it.
no.
I love it.
It'd be the first appearance of Snoke.
I would.
Imagine
you know what would be
I
cool?
would be bummed
That would be
if-
fun.
If most Disney Plus shows ended in a secret twist, and maybe I've just been, overfed on the Marvel side of the fence,
Yeah.
where it's just, Agatha, and I'm not going to spoil some of the other ones because, some of them are still more recent, but it's been a running theme in all the Marvel shows that there's a secret big bad behind everything. And I don't want that to get stale because I agree. I think that's a very fun part of Star Wars when there's, when the Emperor first, became a big thing, and there's plenty of others, but I'm willing to be wrong. I'm always excited to just see how it ends, and I trust the storytellers to give me a good story.
I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just one more thing I had on Kira was in the current. I haven't caught up with Crimson Dawn the comics,
Crimson
but
Rain.
Crimson Rain.
the comics.
You're so
Thank
focused on saying Dawn that you.
the War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Rain.
There you go.
The thing is
Got it.
kind of Kira she has a plan to overtake the Empire, and kind of the same thing Prince Shizor sort of wanted, right, Matt? Like, that's the same
Well,
vibe you got.
Well, Prince Shizor wanted to fill in Darth Vader's role. Kira wants to.
Kira
take
doesn't
down
want
the
that.
Empire. She wants
to take down the Empire.
Destroy the Sith.
So if Kira survives whatever happens in Crimson Reign, which she might, because she survived other stuff before this, which we didn't know at the time, and we know Thrawn wants to get back in the mix here. So if Kira wants something and Thrawn wants something, that could be maybe a cool thing down the line. Maybe I'm getting too ahead of myself, but
I think it's too early for Kira to show back up. Like, I feel like if they drop her in post original trilogy time, it's gonna just be so confusing to people. Like, it's just gonna blow people's minds, like, who just consume the visual media, not comics. Because like according to most people, like, Kira doesn't even like exist anymore. She's just Han's ex. Like, which I hate to say it, but
this is the real prediction. That's what
I'd
we all
like to
need.
see the Lando show happen and have Kira developed more there.
Yeah,
That's where
Yeah.
I'd like to see Kira. And then if you want to do something where you bring her into the later continuity and in TV and film, obviously they have in comics, then it'd be stronger. But yes, going back to the most important thing said, Sidon Ithano and his crew
He's
should
in the
absolutely
Mandalorian
come in.
we talk
concept.
about this all the time. He's in
He's
the
in the
concept art
Mandalorian
for Mando
concept
season
art.
1.
I know that because
We told you.
you guys you sent it
Do
to
we
me.
have
Yeah,
the picture
that's how
here?
I know. And then I went and found it in the book just so I could see it in person.
Yeah.
And I feel like they just grabbed some stuff, but Sidon Ithano could be out there. We don't know.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We don't know how old he is. Actually, I do. I know how old he is.
You gave us some
So
insight.
if you're
into
saying
how-
it, then we know.
I mean, Disney has never signed off on that, but I did
So-
write a origin story. Did I tell you about that?
You
That I
did.
wrote
Oh,
an
yeah.
origin
Yes,
story?
but
Okay.
you
I love
didn't give
it.
us the details. Just
Love
in
these
case.
Oh, I can't tell you. I still want them to do it. So
One
here's
day.
hoping. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm angling. I've been talking with Nick Brokenshire, the artist on the comic we did, the Pirates of the Barren Rim, I think it was,
Mhm.
and I don't remember my own titles. And we're angling to do more. So I would like to do a story I'd want to do a story set after the last one because I want to play with Kix more. Because if I did something earlier, you can't have Kix.
That's true.
Yeah.
Kix
Yeah.
is-
Although
This
We need
here's the
Kix.
thing, we never lock down when our stories occur. There's a lot of
True.
assumptions, but
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe that was 15 years before Force Awakens in the Journey to the Force Awakens series. We don't know.
You're right.
Maybe.
I can
Maybe.
change it, and then Kix could show up on Boba Fett.
Wow.
All right.
They've already got the
That's
actor.
it. That's a step too far. All right.
Kix
No,
showing up
we
in
don't.
anything will just make so many people happy.
It's just
and-
gonna like the 30 people who like are obsessed with Kix. It will melt their brains. Okay, like you don't understand.
Hey, you.
Oh no, I do. That's why I want to do it.
You underestimate how many people are obsessed with Kix.
It's
Every
30.
time,
There are dozens of us. Okay.
every time I'm online
Doesn't.
and anybody mentions like, "Oh, did you know that Kix survived into the sequel era?" People lose their minds and they're like,
Crawl
"Wait,
over.
what? Really?
He's
Really?
the-
What is this?"
Yeah.
It's like,
He's the only clone with his own cereal. So
Right.
all right.
Anyway,
Please end it.
this
Please
has
end
been HoloNet Marauders Live. Thank you
Uh,
so much for joining us tonight, Landry. We're
yeah,
glad
thank
to
you
have
so
you on the
much.
show.
Thank you so
And
much.
next week is our last HML for the season because it's the last episode of Book of Boba Fett. AJ, you had a few things you wanted to promote for this weekend?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I'm doing
little
a
bit.
Twitch video game stream with my friend Dallin. We're gonna be playing some Sea of Thieves Sunday. If you guys want to come follow us on Twitch and check that out, we'll be talking about real pirates, not
Not
I don't know how to say this.
okay.
Not space
Sidon
pirates.
Ithano is a real
Historical
pirate,
pirate.
and
Right.
I'm gonna cut you
Just
off
real
just for
thing.
that. So anyway, thank you guys so
Space
much for
pirates.
watching HoloNet Marauders. See you next time.
See you guys.